Good evening and welcome. It is always a pleasure to have you. And my name is Adams Mayambala, and today we are speaking elections. The Electoral Commission that was born by the Article 60 of the Constitution of Uganda, that is mandated to organize, conduct and supervise elections in the country. And I'm not an expert in elections, and that is why I'm joined by the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Paul Bokenya. Nice to have you this evening.
Nice to be here at CTV, and good evening to our dear viewers and you to Adams. Yeah.
We do understand that you embarked on a campaign to verify administrative units that include villages and parishes recently, and we do know that now you have pinned the lists on different locations. How has this exercise gone so far?
Yeah, we have exercises that are going on, and we are preparing to organize elections which start at the village level. And that is women councils and committees elections, which will be held this year between June and August. And then later on, LC1 and LC2 elections, which will be held on dates between July and August next year, 2023. So for that reason, we went back to the list of what we call administrative units. These are villages and parishes, to look at them again and ensure that they are streamlined, they are harmonized before we conduct these elections. So in 2018, when we last held these elections, the number of villages was lower than what we have now. And now, since then, they have increased. So to 70,512. So from 68,000, something like that. So from that number to 70,512, we wanted to make sure that we harmonize everything that's on the ground. And that's why we went out in the month of March and sent out our lists to villages, to the districts and the cities, to compare, first of all, what do you have? Because it is possible that what the districts had could be different from what we have, because there have been many creations. First, there were even new districts, new cities, new sub-counties, new town councils, new parishes, and new villages. So we wanted to compare, then we wanted to verify and really ascertain that these are legally established villages. And then we wanted to confirm them and create a new list. So those exercises were very critical. Those objectives were critical to us. And we've achieved that because we've gone down to the districts and engaged with the technical people to address the challenges that we saw would happen in this election. If I could just take you back in a minute. In 2018, when we organized these elections for LC1 and LC2, and even women councils elections, we had so many issues that came up. There were contests, there were complaints, and disputes about the legality of some villages. Your village is not established in law, and that complicated our work. There were disputes about boundaries. Our village borders this area. Our village, our parish goes into this sub-county. There were disputes about names of villages, and there were disputes even about locations. This village should be in this parish. No, this village should be in this, or this parish should be in this sub-county. So all those issues complicated our work. So before we go into these elections, we say that let's go back and try to address all these issues. Now the lists which we compared and verified and confirmed, we've brought them back to display them. And they are being displayed right now. We started on the 11th, so that we remove doubt, so that we address any issues, so that we address any complaints that may arise, if any, and then start the program. Like I mentioned earlier, the Women Council's program starts in the month of June, and everything must have been settled by then.
On the issue of the villages, we had rumors that, that people can, perhaps if you have a village that you live in and it's a new one, perhaps we don't know what really constitutes a new village, you should come and say, this is my village, I'm not seeing it anywhere. Under what circumstances does someone claim that my village is not here?
First of all, it's important to know our villages. We all stay in a village somewhere. We are in Tinda, Elecotoral Tinda here. It's a village in Nakawa division, in a parish within Nakawa division. I may not know exactly the parish name. So wherever we are, even in the city, there are villages. We call them cells in urban areas. And there are parishes, we call them wards. So it's important that you know a village. So I think I like the way you brought it up. This is my village. Because remember from the basics, when you're applying for a passport, you mention a village. When you're applying for a national ID card, they ask you about villages. So the structure of government and local government comes down up to the lowest unit, which is the village. And it's important that you know a village. But now to take you back to answer your question, first of all, you need to know a village. If you don't know a village, you ask, because when you don't know something, you ask, and there's nothing wrong with that. We could also check from our website, our database. There are a breakdown of some of these areas, administrative units, and it's important that you know them. But you can also ask your local leaders, what's the name of our village? And don't be embarrassed. Don't feel embarrassed. It's just a question, and you'll get the answer. But also to go back to exactly what you were mentioning and implying, your village must be established by law.
How do they know
some people,
the legality of the village they're living in?
That's why you need to check what we are displaying. That's why you need to take interest in the affairs, in the things around you. Don't just come back home and walk into that gate and that's it. Do you know your village chairperson, for example? Do you know, is there an LC1 office in your village? Some villages have an LC1 office. Or at least there's a contact person. Do you know your parish village? But you can walk to the sub-county, to the division headquarters, and find out that I would love to look through the list of villages and ascertain that my village is actually one of the villages that are known or established by the Ministry of Local Government. And now to put it in a picture, a village to be recognized in Uganda must have been established by the Ministry of Local Government, by a statutory instrument issued and signed by the Ministry of Local Government. So first of all, that's how villages are created. So if you want to know a village first, those are the questions you ask. Is our village legally created? Because there are some people, and we've come across them during this exercise, some people who claim to have villages that are not recognized in law. And that's very dangerous. You sign on people's agreements, land agreements, transfers, academic documents. Now we have parish development model, and you are moving around with a village that's not in law. That's wrong.
So Kenya, we have a problem. For example, for my grandmother who is living in Raka, in Kachuampali there, very far, and they have a problem of establishing where is the boundary because they are not visible. And how do they find out where exactly they are? Because there are disputes of boundaries. I mean, this village, this stops here. How do they establish that? Now, this is my village.
First of all, the villages are established by law and they exist. They even have names. We found villages here. And people know their boundaries. But besides that, there are demarcations that are made with the experts. And every district has a component of planning. There are district planners in every district. There are sub-county chiefs, and there are principal assistant secretaries and people who handle issues related to villages. And they know the villages, where the villages pass, their boundaries. Yes, you could say that they are imaginary lines because they are not drawn in word, but there are some features that define boundaries of villages. And they are known even in urban areas and even in rural areas. You could say that the village passes by that river, or it passes by that forest, or it passes by that small hill, or the boundaries by that road, or So there are known features, but above all, besides features, the villages are even demarcated. And you may not want to go into so much technicalities, but this information is available with the technical people who first of all compile that data. Every district, like I said, has a district planner. It has a department that deals with demographics and all that, and they have cartographers, people work with maps. But above all, there is an instrument signed by the minister which sets up and establishes a village. So your grandmother doesn't need to worry that I need to be exact and find out there's a perimeter wall around villages. No. But villages are established and there are boundaries and they're known. And they are within parishes and eventually sub-counties and eventually within a county and within a district. And that's why we can tell that now you're entering this district.
Okay, Mr. Paul, now during this exercise, what did the commission find out? What are the findings?
We found out that some villages, some villages in quotes, I could say, exist without legal recognition, and so they are illegally. Some villages are illegal, if we could say that, because they are not established in law by a statutory instrument. There's a procedure in the Local Government Act on how you establish a village. From when the councils, the upper council is there, LC3 sits and passes a resolution, want to create a parish with so many villages, and they write a resolution, and the resolution is accepted by the Minister of Local Government, and the Minister of Local Government issues a statutory instrument recognizing and establishing that village, so that it becomes an administrative unit in the laws of Uganda and in the structures of Uganda. So that's where we start from. What we discovered was that some people, after the 2018 elections, maybe after losing elections, this camp says, let's start our village. And they started their they formed 1, 2, 3, 4 households. This is our village. Yeah, like you would say, Minster's village here in Tinda we have, or whatever you could call it. That doesn't make it a village unless it's established by a statutory instrument. We found out that some names were not matching. We have a village here, we call it XY, and there the people know it as YX. So that needed to be harmonized because it's going to be represented. We're going to organize elections for it and we'll declare a result which will be published. So we need to put everything right. We found that there are some villages which are located in parishes where they're supposed to wrongly located. These are isolated cases, but at least in our database, there is a case of such a village. And I'm giving a general picture. We found some villages that are also established after the statutory deadline. We know the Minister of Local Government issued a declaration, a moratorium, stopping the creation of districts, cities, sub-counties, town councils, parishes, villages, with effect from the 9th of April, 2021. And so we found that there are some villages which have been established after that date. They are illegal. They cannot be entered into our system for purposes of organizing elections for them. Then we also found out that there are some villages which had been created legally, but they had not yet been forwarded to us. So all the scenarios above have manifested during this exercise, and we have worked on them, and that's why we've taken back the results so that we confirm it, and then publish the harmonized list. Yeah.
And now the public viewing that is going on right now, what is the importance of it?
It's very important because, like we mentioned earlier, you need to know your village.
And how many are there?
You need to know your village. Of course, our database still has the 70,512 villages, including those that we've marked for deletion. So if you see that, you will see that we've highlighted that these villages are off our data. They will not be included, and we've given a reason. So now we've displayed so that you know why this village falls under such a category. It's very important to participate in this exercise because you will know your status in law. Is a village established in law? But also we are going to organize elections. So it is important that you participate in elections from a point of knowledge that this actually exists. Otherwise, it will help us to avoid incidences of, complaints, unnecessary complaints, people turning up on towards nomination, that have come for nomination to represent or for purposes of village ABC, and yet village ABC is not existing. It is important for political parties because they are going to present candidates. So when you know for sure that we have this village on the list, then you can go ahead and prepare candidates for that particular village. It's important to us because you're going to compile a register of residents. You know, these elections don't use the National Voters Register. They use a village residents register. So we're going to compile a register, and the register is very important. It's a document that's critical to a fair election. So the display will help us to confirm and then compile the final list for which we are going to register and organize elections. Yeah.
Where are these verification points, and what is the procedure? How is it going to be conducted?
Well, the list of villages is displayed at the sub-county headquarters. It is displayed at the sub-county headquarters or the city division headquarters. And that's where we've pinned up the list, because it's a list of villages. It's not like we've taken to every village. No, we've taken it to the sub-county. And all villages are located within a sub-county. So we think that stakeholders can take that walk, go to the sub-county and look through and confirm the status of their village on that list. So that's why it's taking place from 11th, which was Monday, up to the 20th of this month, which is next Wednesday, Tuesday, next week on the 20th. And then after that, we will publish the final list. But you know, the people who are responsible are our supervisors, and they have with them all the necessary documents. If you have a complaint, they can receive it and address it.
So if perhaps the name of the village is spelled in a different way than it is supposed to be, they need to complain there and then?
You can raise a complaint and object to the inclusion or the omission of a village. We've created the necessary forms. So, or if you have any other issue around the data that we have, you can raise it and it can be handled by that officer or escalated and taken to the higher levels for management.
And then who needs to come for the verification? Is it the local leaders we have? Is it me as a voter, anyone?
Even you as a voter, because remember, you are going to nominate a candidate, you are going to give a candidate a vote. It's very important that the public generally attends to this. And you may be the one with the issue. The leaders are very important, but what if they don't address an issue of concern to you? What if they were even the cause of that particular issue? So I think we've made it open to all stakeholders so that it is participatory. It's one of the aspects of a fair electoral process. The processes are open and transparent and participatory. Anyone can come and look at it, and if they have an issue, they bring it to the attention of the election management team. Yeah.
Our people are busy people, and they say I'll be working. What are the working hours, and when should they go there?
Yeah, we normally have that excuse, and there's a valid reason that we work, we go to school, we do everything, or even the sub-county is far. Yeah, but I think we also need to attend to that. That's why there are weekends. There's even an Easter holiday in between, and our staff will be working through. So I think set aside a time, show interest in knowing your village, your parish, your sub-county. And I know this, if you just put out a vote, a poll out there, and ask people who can tell the village, the parish, and the sub-county, you would be surprised. You'd be surprised by the results. But we can get knowledge now that it's open, it's out there. So set aside time. We work even through the weekend, and get time and look at it. It's important that you know that location. And more so, leaders need to know this, and they need to lead us so that we clean up the list and have verified villages across the country.
We do understand that this exercise is supposed to elapse next week. I think it's 20th on Wednesday. And then what happens after?
What happens is that we will take back the data and address any emerging issue. If there's been a complaint, it will be managed according to the law. It will be addressed. And then thereafter, the harmonized list will be published. We intend to publish this list, give it to, first of all, political parties, because we're organizing elections in June, and we would want them to prepare candidates for existing village, not non-existing villages. So political parties will disseminate to political parties and other stakeholders. And other people may want to use that information, because that information is very critical to even other agencies, the people who do taxes, the population and census agency, even police, security, NERA when you're registering for national ID, and even civil society organizations which want to work within your community. They would love to know your village, that your village exists legally. So we'll disseminate that information to all stakeholders, upload it on the website so that it can be accessed by all interested parties.
I'm yet to verify my village. I live in Intinda. I don't know if there is an independent village. But is there any final remarks on that? The final comments on the display of verified administrative
units? We think that given the experience we had in 2018, where there were many disputes about the villages, and probably you followed some stories. Some disputes about LC1 elections went all the way to court, some even to appeal level. So that's how serious village level elections are.
I remember the stamp saga.
Yes, so that's how serious they are. So I think a verified and harmonized list will help us to organize credible elections, which is what I believe everyone wants. But also that list will be useful to other agencies and stakeholders, like I've mentioned, Ministry of Health, people doing vaccination now. They would want to know, they would want to operate in recognized areas. And that's very, very important for us. So in the parting words on that particular one, I would say that let's take interest in this exercise. Let's find out the status of our village so that we participate in the upcoming village level elections. Yeah.
We are still in the pandemic of COVID-19, and I believe the SOPs are still in place, mask and all that. Is there a program for this? Are people following this?
Yeah, since this is not very intensive, like 1,000 people have come to the sub-county, but yes, definitely we've given our guidelines that SOPs will be followed. Always go out with your mask. Go with your mask. And observe social distancing. There's still a problem of COVID-19, and we don't want you to come to a sub-county and be exposed, or even expose others to the risk of spread of COVID-19. So the mask is still very important, and social distancing, and use of sanitizers. And I know that these places still have hand washing facilities. So the SOPs will still apply even in this exercise.
Okay, there you are. People are advised to go and check out the list. They have administrative list at their respective sub-counties and divisions to see what is your village, where do you live, because we have names that are not official of our villages. So if you go there, you have to know where is my village, and that our leaders, this is where we are going to vote for our leaders and all that. So it happens, and they are going to work through the weekend. And I think it is important to know where we live, that we have to nominate leaders and where they are going to. At this juncture, I think we are going to take a very short break, and we are going to return with more.
embark on a journey to realize our full potential, we all need expanded minds and limitless possibilities. We need to be accurately informed. CTV is your growth partner. With reliable, in-depth news, we tell the story from all perspectives. We bring you the story in real time. Catch our comprehensive daily bulletins in Juba Egolobye at 7 p.m. and PM edition at 9 p.m. CTV, don't blink. Mahatma Gandhi famously said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." We all have the power to change the way we feel about ourselves, others, and the world at large. The Impact is an interactive, social, and empowering platform that showcases how different change drivers have transformed community livelihoods. We bring you real-life stories of hope, resilience, change, inspiration, and bringing stakeholders to account. The Impact, now showing on CTV. Don't blink. Love sports? We do too. We got you covered. The Sports Dish, your daily lunchtime sports show that serves the intrigue, breaks down the act, and gives you an in-depth analysis of the odds. Who's going up? Who's going down? Catch all the thrilling action right here on the Sports Dish with Clive Chazé. Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back. You're still watching CTV. Those of you that are just joining us, we are discussing matters election, villages, and all that. Your vote is your right, and this concerns you as a citizen of Uganda. And I'm with the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Paul Bukenya, to throw more light on this, because since I'm not an expert in elections, and he is here to throw more light on this. Mr. Paul, I know that the Electoral Commission is preparing the Women Council elections and committees at different levels. Where are you so far on this?
Yeah, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, the reason we are working out on the villages and confirming and verifying the list is because we are organizing for elections which are starting at the village level. And we're organizing elections for women councils and committees. Those elections were last organized in 2018, and their term of office is 4 years, and they're expiring this August, the current office bearers. So we have to organize elections. We issued a program, and we indicated the various activities that are going to be undertaken during this electoral program. Women councils and committees are structures that are provided for in the National Women Councils Act. They are a structure in our governments and representation from the village level. So we're organizing elections for them. Every village or cell, village is the rural, cell is the urban, but every village or cell by law is, the law provides for it to have all the women in that village who are 18 years and above and are willing to be members of a council are eligible to be members of a council and to participate in elections. So we will be compiling a register from the 10th of June up to the 13th of June. And then we'll have nominations. There will be nominations for 5 elective positions. There is a position of chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary, publicity secretary, and finance secretary for each village, 5 positions. So that program is scheduled for this month of June this year. And after that, we'll go to the parish level and organize for the parish elections. And then the sub-county, they are progressive in nature. They go up to the district level, and then we'll have the delegates who will come to a venue that will identify and publicize for purposes of electing the National Women Council Executive Committee. So there is a whole program that has been laid out indicating the dates, including the requirements, who is eligible, when should they participate, how should they participate, and things like that.
Mr. Bukenya, for starters, our people are very bad at, the lower leadership and all that. What people know are the presidential elections, the parliamentary elections, that they will turn up very many. For the people watching me and you right now, I want you to tell them, how are they affected by these elections, or like these leaders, how do they affect them as human beings? Because one would ask, why should I go and participate in them? People will participate for me. How are they affected? These leaders, how do they impact their lives?
Yeah, first of all, I think women councils are provided for in the law, the National Women Councils Act, and representation of women is provided for in our other laws that promote affirmative action. And they're part of the groups that have representation from the village level up to parliament. I think you know that they are representatives. So I think it's very, very important that this structure is established for purposes of coordinating and promoting the growth and development of a special interest group, for, in this case, women. So it is important that the women are also organized by over leadership at the village level. That alone, I think, is very critical, and we should take advantage of it. The rest of how, when we organize elections and the councils are formed, they also start to engage and relate with government structures. And there's a whole ministry that relates to some of these structures. For example, the Ministry of Gender handles issues of the women councils and committees. There are women development programs that are coordinated through those structures. There are women empowerment programs, and now also the parish development model and things like that. So I think it's a very critical structure, but also the chairperson of the Village Women Executive Committee automatically becomes the Secretary of Women Affairs and LC1 as the LC1 committee. So first, it's a structure that's provided for in the law to promote and drive development among women, starting at the village level, and to these elections and these special interest groups are also a very good training ground where you start to exercise leadership, and some people have come through these structures and progressed up to the national level, even to parliament. So I think they are very, very important structures that women should take advantage of.
And who is eligible for these positions? Do I need my Senior 6 certificate, dust it off, or Senior 4 and bring it, or university, whatever it is?
To participate in the Women Council's elections, of course, you must be female, you must be 18 years and above, you must be a resident of that particular village, and you must be willing to be part of the council. We don't force you. The law says that you must be willing to register to participate in those elections. And basically, those are very critical requirements. You must be female, you must be 18 years and above, you must be resident, but you must also be willing. You must present yourself for purpose of registration to participate in the elections. And there are those who are coming from a background of political parties. If you're supported by a political party, you are allowed in. There's no requirement for academic documents, the minimum academic requirement, no? Similarly, when we come to nominations, there is no nomination fee if you want to contest for any position at the village level. So I think that's briefly a package that someone who is interested in this should know. Yeah.
How are the campaigns going to be conducted, nominations and all that kind of information?
Yeah, we are still working in an environment of COVID-19. So a village is a small unit, but still I think it has to follow the SOPs, and we will enforce that. We'll make sure that aspiring candidates and nominated candidates, for that matter, follow that provision in the law. The nominations for women councils and committees elections will be on 27th June to 1st of July this year. And after nominations, of course, there will be campaigns within the village. Village is not a very big unit, for 3 days, 4th, 5th, and the 6th of July. And then the voting will be on the 7th of July. So the campaigns will be open, and they will be able to hold meetings. We still following the SOPs for smaller meetings, like we go to church. What do? We put on our mask, we keep social distancing, and we do sanitizing. So we will still need to take responsibility because we still have a COVID environment. Otherwise, campaigns will be within the village and within the electoral college, because now this is an electoral college, and only the women will participate in and vote. So you'll be able to reach out to those women.
So it's only women to vote. Men shouldn't be.
It's an electoral college. It's a special interest group. That's why we say to register. You must be female. You must be 18 years and above. You must be a resident of the village. You must be willing to register to participate in those elections.
And how is the voting going to be conducted? Am I going to line up behind the back of someone, a secret ballot, or?
Yeah. This election shall be by the members of the electoral college lining up behind the candidate of their choice. So it's not secret ballot at village level, at parish, at sub-county. It's not secret, but it's by lining up. Then as you progress up to the district, and then later on at the National Women Council's Executive Committee, the Delegates Conference, we will have a secret ballot as well. Yeah.
From your point of view, the Electoral Commission, what informs the choice of the kind of voting? Because we've seen some chaos, and I think some people would be afraid to line up. How will I wouldn't want to vote for my auntie who I think perhaps is not competent.
People lined up in 2018. There was a fear that there will be no participation. They became hotly contested elections, and there was participation even on polling day. And there were results announced, and we have leaders who were elected through that election. There are many ways of indicating choice. Of course, we know that one of the best ones is a secret ballot. But there are many ways of indicating a choice. And I think you know that voting takes many forms. For example, in some issues, when a vote has to be taken, people raise their hands and they are counted. And that counts as a choice. People even raise their voices. They use their voices to say yes or no. And the vote counts. And of course, others line up. And then, of course, the widely used is the one of secret ballot, where you cast a ballot. So all those are allowed in laws and in various legislations as they may apply. So it is not true that there will be no participation. We had that fear, and we had it. We had that concern, that the concerns were raised. Stakeholders were saying there will be no participation. But those one elections in 2018 turned out to be very hotly contested, and like I told you, there were even people who took them and challenged the results even up to very high courts in this
On
land.
that very point, the village elections, do you handle disputes, or they have to go to court?
No, well, when Electoral Commission organizes elections and announces results, that's where our responsibility at that point stops. We cannot, come in and to make a judgment on our own decision. If you're not satisfied with the results of elections, of course you have the option of challenging them in courts of law. Yeah.
Lastly, on the elections at a lower level, we've seen funny scenes where people are swearing in a language that they're not comfortable, and they are saying words like Solomon and all that. Is there a program for these people to actually really feel what they are saying and understand this is what I'm saying?
First of all, we organize elections. We are not responsible for the swearing in and all that, our work stops at organizing the elections and declaring the results of the elections. How the other issues of swearing in and taking oath, it's not within the mandate of the Electoral Commission. But I think we've seen that at this level, at this lower level, when we announce in leaders, they are handed over to Ministry of Local Government, and they organize for the cows and the sub-county chiefs and the principal stand secretaries and senate stand secretaries organize for all the other administrative procedures, including swearing in, how should they swear in, where should they swear in from, and other issues like you mentioned some time back, the stamps and all that. So our work will stop at organizing the elections and declaring the results of the elections. And then other agencies will take off, and probably that matter will be handled.
The passing of the former Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Jacob Olanya, is so still alive for us, and according to the Electoral Commission, they have to fill that position. And we do understand that there is you announced dates for the by-election of that position and the local government council. Did you know the Speaker at a personal basis? Is there something you know about him, perhaps?
Not at a personal level like this and that, but maybe, of course, as a leader, I followed him, and yeah, I admired him. His qualities, their issues stood out prominently, and they still, you know, which had impact on me. And yeah, I followed him as he went through his political career, and yeah, it's sad that we lost him. But we celebrate his life and everything he's been able to do. Yeah.
So any update on this by-election, and what other positions are vacant in that very specific area?
Yeah, of course we got notification there's a vacancy in Parliament, and we released a program to conduct a by-election. The law gives us 60 days to do that, and we're already on the ground. We have activities that are running. Today we started the display of the update of the voters register. When we have a by-election, we open up the register again so that eligible persons who have never registered as voters can come in and present themselves and apply for registration as voters. So this update will go on up to the 20th of this month, and then up to the 19th, on the 20th, up to the 19th, and then we will be displaying that register. We'll display it from the 25th of April up to the 4th of May. And then after that, we will conduct nomination of candidates on the 12th and the 13th of May. And then the nominated candidates will campaign from the 16th of May up to the 24th of May. And then we'll have the elections on the 26th of May. So we've released the program indicating the various activities that we're going to do and the timelines. We'll also fill a vacancy for district command councillor for one of the electoral areas called Laloji, Lakwaya electoral area. There's a vacancy there. So we are set, our teams on the ground, we've already started the work. Yeah.
Speaking about the issue of campaigns, of course there have been disputes. The Electoral Commission say the roadmap is like this, I'm supposed to be in this particular area, but now things have changed and a lot of chaos. This has been coming up. And what brings this, and perhaps do we know it as it was, according to you, because you stipulate this timeline and roadmap?
Yeah, what happens when we finish nominating candidates, we bring them together and we harmonize their campaign program. We say, on this day, candidate so-and-so will be in this area, so you cannot use it. Leave them to be there. And on this day, candidate XY will be in such and such an area. And that harmonized program helps us to avoid clashes. But we know that sometimes, you know, either, you know, because as candidates move, sometimes there is that possibility of supporters meeting and then clashing and all that. The reason we harmonize is to remove such incidences. We know that there have been some cases where supporters would clash into each other. But that's what we want to remove by harmonizing the program. And I think when we do that, we won't have such cases. We have clear guidelines on campaigns. We know the venues that candidates can use to campaign that are allowed. And we ban processions, because that's where a lot of excitement is generated. And as you do a procession, that's where you pick up even people who probably are not really your supporters, and they could just come in to cause chaos. So we've issued clear guidelines on how to organize campaign meetings, also in view of the COVID-19 situation, so that there is that observance of the SOPs. Yeah.
By-elections are known to be very chaotic, and of course, what's your take on this? Do you have any arrangement, and when are the nominations, and where are they going to take place?
Yeah. Well, elections by nature tend to generate heat. So campaigns tend to generate heat, and some can, escalate to maybe, that kind of tension and even chaos. We have measures that we put in place to avoid such incidences. First of all, by harmonizing the campaign so that we know where candidate X is on day one and on the other day, and things like that. But also working closely with the candidates themselves and their agents to ensure that we do not have situations that escalate into violence. And then, of course, working with security agencies, police, to be able to detect and prevent any incidences like that. And to do vote education and sensitization so that the public, the stakeholders, they understand that we don't need to be chaotic. We're here for elections, not for chaos, because after the elections, they will be in the same community. They will need the same school, the same market. So why ban it? You need it. You need the same road. You need the same well, water point. So those are the messages we send out. And we don't organize elections so that they, leave the village or the constituency on fire. No. We organize elections so that they produce leaders for that particular area, so that it develops and, progresses like others. And so continuous engagement, of course, looking at early warning, making sure we have a mechanism for early warning so that we detect where there could be potentially, explosive situations, and we handle them and avoid that happening. Yeah.
And where are they going for nominations?
The nominations will be at Omoro District Council Hall on the 12th and the 13th of May, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning and ending at 5 p.m. in the evening on each of those days. Yeah.
Speaking about security, some of the people like me are scared of guns. And of course, we don't know if this contributes to the low voter turn-up, and some people are scared and they're like, I'm not going to those, let me stay in my home because security has deployed and they anticipate. What's your message for such kind of people?
I think sometimes there's a misunderstanding, but we've also realized that actually on polling day, people want security. They want assurance that they are going to go and vote and come back home without someone attacking them on the way. So we look at it that way. Even the electoral laws themselves require that elections are organized in a peaceful environment. So having security is a good thing, and security is important, and it's a common good. We all need security. So on polling day, we provide for security, and you can't use that an excuse not to come to a polling station, because even security personnel at the polling stations are not armed. The security personnel who are armed are the personnel who are doing the normal, maybe monitoring and patrolling the area around. And they do their job there. So just do what is right, leave home, go, do what is right, what is expected of you, don't cause chaos. You will not have any problem with security, because you need security. You need security. Polling day.
And then lastly, the issue of my village where I'm going to vote from, or my polling center, the ballots arrived at 7, 8. What is the time and the delay? What are you doing about it? Because we've seen some incidents in the past.
Yeah, but yes, there could be. We know we've seen instances that have been reported about that, and we've taken measures always to address that. Make sure materials are delivered on time, and polling opens at 7. But what we've seen in some exercises, including the last elections, where that now it is even the people who are not there. You know, there's a minimum number that is required in law before you open the polling kit, you know, and if you do not have those voters present, you can't open the kit. We've seen that also happening now. The officer is there, the security is there, the materials are there, and we're waiting for 5 registered voters from that polling station to witness the opening, and they are not there. Someone comes and another goes, and then they say, hey, where are the people? Then they go, and you can't start the polling until 9 o'clock. Why? Because maybe they've gone to the gardens first or things like that. So I think we've taken measures to ensure that stations open on time, and now it is also a message out to stakeholders that come in on time so that we open the station on time. But polling day, polling in Uganda, and for purposes of this election, we also start at 7 and go on all the way up to 4 p.m. in the evening.
Mr. Paul Bukenya, your parting shots, because time is against us right now.
Yeah, it's been an honor to talk about elections, and elections are part of our processes now, of electing leaders and all that. So we're already going to another level of elections, and I want you to pick interest in it. It's the closest leadership and level. Please take interest in it. We will also advise you to check with the officers in the field who are closest to you, but also our website, Electoral Commission website, www.ec.or.ug. For more information, we'll be able to give you the information you need to empower you to participate in elections, but also to participate in a peaceful way and in a responsible manner that protects others during this time when we still have COVID-19 around us. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Bukenya, the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission, one of the humblest spokespersons that I know. Ugandans are advised to go and vote. For the administrative units, go out to your villages, the sub-county, the parishes, and to go and check out these lists to see whether your village is there and any correction is needed, to know where you fall, and then participate in these women elections, because these are your leaders. They determine your fate, your future, and as the saying goes, your vote is your right. You have a right to speak. That is your voice. So we advise you to go and for elections and go and vote, because this is your country. My name is Adams Mayambala, and I'm going to be leaving you tonight. I can see Bernadette Apio is already set to give you a PM edition. For me, that is it. Good night.